gotta keep progressing. Keep progressing. You gotta keep progressing. Just keep progressing. You gotta keep progressing.
Yo, blessings to everyone. Hope you all been well and been doing great things. Don't mind my voice today. I just had a cold this week and I'm a bit nasally and congested, but I want to get back into the swing of making content. And today's video is called Artists Need to Make the Most of Their Time in Obscurity. And before I get into the different layers of the content, I just want to break down obscurity and the definition and where the meaning comes from. So when I looked up the definition of obscurity, it is the opposite of fame. It means to be unknown, insignificant, and non-recognized. Obscurity comes from the Latin word obscurus, which means dark, which is where obscurity is found. I first came across the concept of obscurity as a creative in the book called The Art of Creative Thinking by Rod Junkins. And I read this book many years back, and this one lesson really stuck with me through my creative endeavors and my journey to make the most of obscurity as an artist. You know, if you're not well known, if you're still building from the ground up, to use that time and space that you're in to your advantage. And in that book, The Art of Creative Thinking, there's a story of Kurt Cobain and how he utilized his obscurity as an artist. And, you know, before he really blew up worldwide and was well known everywhere, and his music was well known, he experimented and lived in obscurity. He was homeless for a certain moment in time, and he wasn't well known, you know, in the creative world, in music. And during that time, he was able to experiment with his voice and make the most of his time not being known and his music known. You know, he was able to experiment, make mistakes, learn from his mistakes, learn different lessons and techniques and implement them. And he had a whole freedom within his obscurity that he was able to use and enjoy as an artist as well. And then eventually, once, you know, he became really famous, he lost that obscurity where he was able to experiment and do all these things because people were relying on him to make the same kind of music, to make the same kind of sounds. You know, he had managers and fans and label executives to, you know, telling him, you know, we need another album, we need another song like this. And he lost that obscurity. And in the book, it was saying that he went back to find his obscurity by leaving his mansion home and going to small hotels not far by to make music again on the low key, away from all the noise. So obscurity is a place for artists. It is a rare place. You know, once you put your art out there and it's well known, you kind of lose the obscurity. So, you know, I took those lessons earlier on, like years ago, and implemented it into my own art, as in, you know, I went traveling in 2016 when I just started to write lyrics, and I went on my own. No one really knew that I was making hip-hop music, so I traveled to Nepal, I went to Cambodia, Vietnam, Thailand in 2016, and the intention of that trip was just to write and make music on my own. You know, it was a solo trip, so I had no one around me. It was just me in hotel rooms, me in Airbnbs, in different places, just writing, experimenting with my voice, finding my voice, reading books, learning lessons, and all that kind of stuff. And it was like such a liberating place and time for me as an artist, because I was free to really just experiment and roam and try new things, find new things, and implement them, see if they work for me or not. So that's what I did, you know, leading up to my first project, Love Confidence, which I dropped this year in 2022, which is on SoundCloud. For a long time, I spent as much time as I could in my own obscurity, and then eventually, giving out my music to people for feedback, putting out little singles leading up to my project to get feedback. And even now, like, I'm not famous as an artist yet, but I still feel like I'm in an obscure place as it is, because I'm still not well known. I can still experiment, and I can still, have trial and error within my music, and that's all part of the journey. So I've been through my process of obscurity, and I still feel like I'm in it now, and where I still have the freedom to experiment with different sounds, and I'm making the most of it still. Even with this YouTube channel, I feel like it's definitely in an obscure place. I've only got 25 subscribers, and people that listen, and some videos, they make the algorithm and people tune in, some don't. But I'm in a place right now with my YouTube channel where I'm able to experiment, see what people like to listen to, see how people respond, if they like it or not. So with the YouTube channel, there's a lot of experimentation and trial and error, and a lot of freedom. And with freedom brings a lot of happiness for me, to be honest, because I can do what pleases me and see what works and see what doesn't. So yeah, it's a great journey being in an obscure place. I feel like some people find obscurity, that people don't care about their work, people aren't interested, and they take that as a negative, and it can not motivate them as much because they're not getting recognition. But understand, everything's a tool, and we need to use obscurity, if you're in it, to your advantage. Use the place that you're in. If you're not well known, if no one really cares about your music, about what you're doing, make the most of that time to build your skills, build yourself, create things that you like and admire, and eventually over time you'll create your own character with your art form. You'll have your own skills, that you'll know your strengths, you'll know your weaknesses, you'll have more knowledge of self as overall within your craft. And that's a great place to be if you're in obscurity and no one really cares. I would say just take advantage of it. And going back to the Latin word obscurus, which means dark. If you think about a seed being planted in the ground, it's in a dark place, it's in a cold place, no one can see the seed, but the seed actually needs to go underground in that environment to spring to life, for it to stem up to the sun. And so when creating art, you need to think about, sometimes you do need to be in that dark place alone in your bedroom, just making music, writing, painting, even dancing and doing speeches or whatever craft that you're in. You need to be alone rehearsing before you can go out on stage and really, show your craft and how it's come to fruition, and let everyone taste the fruits, to say. So, that metaphor of, the seed in the darkness, we're all seeds in darkness at one point, and we need not be scared or feel disappointed that no one can see us, that it's cold and it's dark and it's hard to push through the soil up into the sun. But we all need to go through that phase to bloom as a tree and to have fruits and flowers and beautiful things. So it's a part of the process, it's part of nature. And all things link, and I love how that happens. So that's just another way to look at obscurity. And my bad if my thoughts aren't connecting as well as they usually do, because I'm still a bit in a head fog right now from my cold and my voice and all that, but I think I'm trying to get the information out as best as I can. So yeah, make the most of your time in obscurity as an artist. Don't be disappointed that no one cares about your music, that no one's listening. Use that as an advantage to keep experimenting, keep creating, keep learning new things within your craft. Show people your music, show people your work, and get feedback. And then, keep building yourself up. Just don't get disappointed, and see obscurity as a concept within craft that we all need. And this is not just within art. Even, basketball players, athletes, they need to be in the gym alone, sometimes early in the morning, in the dark, training hard to go and perform in the bright lights. And that's just the process of life. So, you know, contemplate obscurity, and where you're at and where you fit in it. And even if you are famous and you are big and you're well known and people show you a lot of admiration with what you do, you can still find obscurity in your own space. You know, you can go away from, you can take a break from, you know, whatever means it is to connecting with people through your music or art. Take a break from it and be in your own element, and, you know, be in that obscure place again where you can move with freedom with your art and create and just have fun, you know. So that was just the premise of the video, and, you know, if this video didn't come out all that well, I might redo it again, but we'll see how it goes anyway. So blessings to all of you guys. Keep doing your thing and keep elevating and being better artists and people in this world.